Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and we are once again talking about next year's Formula 1 game, F1 2022. About a month ago or so, we did the very first video like this of the game ideas, essentially, for next year's game, future Formula 1 games. If you don't know how, Game Dalton works, at the moment, Cody's are probably in the middle of developing the foundational blocks and going through the big things for next year's F1 game. So even though we've still got many months of the current F1 game, F1 2021, now's the sort of time to start talking about game ideas for that next year and throw them out into the public domain. Hopefully, we're hoping Cody's, a community manager, someone maybe can see these ideas and, they might get inspired. And also, I feel like a lot of you guys, especially in the comment section, love to just discuss your kind of, desires and, visions for what the F1 game can be, because it gets us all excited as F1, fans and kind of, gaming nerds, basically, to think about what a potential F1 game could look like in the future. So today's video, all the ideas are actually taken from the comment section of the last video we did about a month ago or so. So these are the kind of top 7 comments that I had on that video. We're going to be going in descending order. So the 7th top comment is going to be first, and then we're going to end off with the top comment and idea that you guys had in the comment section of the last video for F1 2022. So starting off with number 7, and this is actually quite an ambitious idea to say it's only number 7 in this video, but manufacturing your own engine, question mark, potentially. So that's a really ambitious idea. Got me thinking, straight away hearing that. Could you build your own engine and then sell it to the official F1 teams maybe? It might cost money and take a lot of resource points and actual, dollar amount away from you, so you can't spend as much money on your HQ facilities, or you can't buy as many, R&D upgrades with the R&D points. But because you're making that investment, a huge investment, because obviously building an engine is a massive deal. Not many, manufacturers do it right now in Formula 1. It takes away, but then long term, could you then look to sell the engine for massive amounts of money to the official Formula 1 teams? And more importantly, if you give the potential, let's say the potential is 125 of this My Team engine, and let's say the best engine on the grid, Mercedes right now, the potential is 100. Honda, like 95, Renault, 85 or something like that, Ferrari, 92 or whatever, and then the My Team engine has a potential of engine performance of 125. So by a decent margin, if you build up this engine, it could be the best engine in Formula 1, but you have to take that hit of knowing that for 2-3 seasons maybe, you're going to have to pour in R&D points, pour in money into developing your engine, so it's going to be a real long slog. But by the end of it, you get to season 4 and 5, and then finally you've got an engine that can beat every single team, and finally it pays off that you can actually be competitive in Formula 1 with your engine, and then you can maybe sell it to other teams, you can make profit off it, and then that's how you would get that's how you would balance out the unevenness of the engine performance. If you sold your engine to, let's say, Red Bull, they would jump up to your kind of level of performance finally with that engine, and so that kind of makes sure the balancing later on into the game is better, because obviously if you did have the best engine, if you just had that, then it would be unfair and it would be kind of hard for you to get nerfed. So if you sold it to other teams, that would allow them to be just as competitive, but obviously you would get some profit in terms of actual dollar amount coming back to you. But yeah, for number 7, that's a very ambitious idea. That's a head in the clouds idea. That's like an idea that, maybe one day we can all dream it could happen maybe. Number 6 is going to be choosing free agents in the driver market who are maybe just in the last couple of F1 games, but maybe aren't in F1 anymore. So, I'm thinking, this person commented Kevin Magnussen, for example, Nico Hulkenberg. I was even thinking then off the top of my head of maybe just FIA licensed drivers, Obviously, I know this is an F1 game, but is there a way for F1 to work with the FIA and the other kind of governing bodies in sports to maybe allow FIA licensed drivers who are in FIA championships to be signed, but they would have different skill sets maybe. So, could you sign a WEC driver, for example, or just someone who's maybe not in the pool of Formula 1 or F2, obviously. We don't know if F3 is ever going to come to Formula 1, but could even go down lower to Formula 3. But also just free agents that are just, maybe not in a sport right now, but were in the F1 games in the last 2 to 3 years. Number 5. Now, this is a small idea, but when it comes to the F1 game, I think fans of the F1 game do enjoy the smaller details also being correct to Formula 1. You know, the big things are great, but also I think F1 fans really appreciate the small details that, you know, ground the game into reality in the way they do things in real life. So this is garage positions correlating to championship positions. So, you know, just simply put, obviously the order that they go in down the pit lane usually is determined by the championship order of the last season. There are exceptions like Silverstone, where because Silverstone the pit lane goes underneath the kind of track height, they make sure the top teams are at the kind of start of the pit lane to make sure, or the kind of, you know, more kind of, you know, favorable teams are towards the start of the pit lane to make sure they're visible for fans to take photos of from the grandstand. But most circuits, they have them just in bog standard standing order from the last season. So that's a small thing, but it's a detail that obviously is in real life Formula 1 and we don't see in the game. And to be fair, it can be costly or advantageous at times. There's been times where, depending on where you are, let's say Hungary 2021, you know, all the cars coming in, if you're a car in the middle, you're going to get, you know, penalized for being in the middle basically, because you have so many cars coming at you. You have to be careful of the traffic and being released out your pit box. So it does actually make a difference sometimes in certain scenarios. So it would be good to have them in the F1 game. Number 4 is going to be different kinds of regulation changes. Now, this comment specified this worked a lot better when we have R&D trees and not the kind of, you know, we used to have the tree system. Now we just have these kind of columns and rows, which in my opinion, to be honest, I think we need to bring the R&D trees back. If we have the R&D tree with the same visuals of what we've got now. So what I'm saying is, if you have an R&D tree, you zoom into it, and then you have the visuals we have right now, it would be really a nice blend. I know why they changed it to this system to make it look a little bit better than the tree, but we could have the best of both worlds. But anyway, I digress. This idea is to have a smaller reg change, and the small reg change would be the reg change we have right now. So it would just be resetting, you know, aero or engine, for example, and you have to repurchase them or you have to adapt them. And then a larger R&D change, which would be completely changing the way your R&D tree looks. So, you know, I'm just trying to think, if right now we would say it's quite an engine formula, let's say, for the V6 era, it's been an engine-heavy formula. So right now, the R&D tree probably skews towards engine. Now, let's say F1 2022, we move on to that year. It's kind of more aero-dependent, the engines are being frozen. So if you have this reg change in the game, maybe the R&D tree would go from having a kind of heavy engine side of the tree to the aero just becomes like double the amount of upgrades, because it's an aero heavy tree and you have so much to do, and the engine becomes smaller and the reliability, that side of the tree becomes larger as well, because it's a whole new system. And so just having that difference of the tree is different, so, you know, what you would spend your R&D in may be completely different over the course of the season. Really cool idea, actually. Obviously, remember, we used to have that in a way in driver career mode in F1 2019 pre my team, when we just could only drive an official Formula 1 teams. Obviously, team to team, they have different R&D trees, so it'd be cool for a reg change to change the shape of the R&D tree for my team career mode. Number 3, better wet conditions. I completely agree with this. The wet conditions have gotten a lot better on this year's game. There is obviously that foible of the fact that it can look so wet and yet it's time for slick tyres. But in general, the graphics and the spray has got better. But I want even more spray, and this comment also says that. Even more spray, standing water. I went back and played F1 2011 for a video, you know, not too long ago for the Turkish Grand Prix. The spray on that game, I want the spray from that game in the modern F1 games. Coupled with the graphics that we have now, the spray from F1 2011 with the graphics of now and the kind of, you know, other bits and bobbles that you have right now in this year's game, it would be insane. And then obviously, I think we've seen it before of monsoon and storm weather. I just had it in my team career mode with the lightning symbol, but literally I want to see undrivable conditions. It doesn't happen often. It literally happens once every 2 seasons or whatever, but once in a while have undrivable conditions conditions that red flag the race, you have to wait a little bit, and so the conditions might change, or the safety car comes out because it's far too wet or whatever, and that's another thing. Bring back the red flag to allow that sort of thing. And then I'm thinking right now as well, not just rain, maybe wind, you know, wind change, wind direction. Sometimes we've seen that wind can affect the Formula 1 cars quite a fair bit, sometimes in quali more so than the race, but that would also be another kind of cool kind of aspect of the weather system. Number 2 is going to be better team radio from Jeff, more commands and specific info, driver coaching maybe. Now this was number 2 top comment of the last video, so even though it's quite a small thing compared to the other ideas we've already had, clearly a lot of you guys want to see this. It's just more specific information. You can also maybe like, oh Jeff, what am I doing wrong with my front tires? They're overheating too much. What should I do? Or, you know, should I come in now? What's the, you know, pit stop window? What's the clean air window? Maybe if I pit now or versus later on or whatever. Or what is the car doing ahead? What is he saying about his tires? And then maybe have driver coaching of like, Jeff, what should I do to get past this guy? What do you recommend? Where should I deploy my ERS best? Maybe having that specific kind of driver coaching like they do in real life could be a really cool aspect. And obviously clearly a lot of you guys think about that because it was the second best comment. And now finally the top comment of the last game ideas video. So this is the one you guys thumbs up the most, and it's one that comes up a lot in F1 games because we've only ever had it in F1 2012, and it was only a kind of, you know, very niche novelty sort of thing. But pre-season testing, tasks to earn R&D and other benefits like extra sponsors for the helmet and car maybe. I thought maybe we could do things like, you know, have a dummy run on low fuel and soft tires to try and earn more sponsors and cash, because sometimes Formula 1 teams have done that in the past. Grab the headlines in pre-season testing with a quick lap time to try and persuade sponsors to come to the car maybe. And also, kind of like the jeopardy we had for the engine manufacturer idea at the very start of the video, maybe it costs you more money to do more runs in pre-season, so you have to spend money to do more tasks in pre-season, but the added caveat is you can earn more R&D. So it's basically a way to spend money to get R&D, but instead of just a small little question in the HQ facility, it's an actual thing you have to then go out and do and actually earn the R&D, and you have to actually make use of the money you've spent in the game system. So yeah, pre-season's always a big one. Not sure that's come up, but yeah, that was number 1 from the ideas you guys had in the comments of the last video. So that has been 7 more ideas directly from you guys that you want to see in F1 2022 My Team Career Mode, and then also future F1 games in general. Guys, if there are other ideas that you guys are having, then put them in the comments below. As usual, thumbs up ones you like, and then in a month's time or something like that, we might do another one of these videos where I go through the top comments again. So definitely participate if you want your idea to come up in a video in the future. If you guys enjoyed this video and liked the sound of some of these ideas, then be sure to hit that like button yourself. Let me know what you thought in the comments below of the ideas as well. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.